Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to this channel, my name is Frank Zhu, and I'm a college professor teaching sociology, history, and philosophy. I'm also an award-winning landscape photographer. Today, I'm going to talk about Chinese writing, which is one of the oldest languages in the world, and the only pictographic language still in use from the ancient times. It is also one of the most difficult languages in the world. As a matter of fact, some of my students and even colleagues insist that Chinese writing is not writing but drawing. So today, let's dive into history and see when and how such a language was invented, how it evolved, and why it is so unique. The first written language was invented by the Sumerians in Mesopotamia around 3000 BCE. It was known as the cuneiform writing. Not long after that, the ancient Egyptians also invented their language, called hieroglyphs. In comparison, the Chinese writing system was invented during the Song Dynasty, which ruled China from 1600 BCE until roughly 1000 BCE. Although writing in China emerged considerably later than in Mesopotamia or Egypt, it developed quickly and had a far richer vocabulary and more complicated rules than both the Sumerian writing and the Egyptian writing. The cuneiform writing disappeared around the 1st century CE, and the Egyptian hieroglyphs died out around the 5th century CE. Only Chinese writing is still being used nowadays, basically unchanged. According to archaeological evidence, it was around 1300 BCE that the first known writing appeared in China. Unlike the Sumerians, who impressed their words on clay tablets, or the ancient Egyptians who engraved their words on stones, the ancient Chinese carved their words on animal bones and tortoises' shells. So far, Chinese archaeologists have discovered hundreds of thousands of pieces of those animal bones and shells on which characters were carved. The fact that there are more than 3,000 characters were found on those pieces shows that the written language at that time was already quite sophisticated. The majority of those characters have been deciphered by historians, although quite a lot still remain mysterious. Unlike its counterparts in other civilizations, Chinese writing was invented for the purpose of predicting the future, which is why it is called oracle bone writing. Words, usually questions about what would happen in the future, were engraved on the bones or shells, which were then placed in the fire. When they got very heated, a rod would be used to tap them lightly until they began to crack. Then, those bones with cracks were sent to experts, who were usually priests, for them to read and interpret. By analyzing how the cracks went through certain words, the experts claim to be able to give answers to various questions such as what the weather was going to be like, would there be flood and where would it be, would a harvest succeed or fail, when might be the best time for hunting or fishing, and other kinds of questions as well. Like most other ancient languages, written Chinese was pictographic meaning that it is based on symbols. In Chinese, those symbols are called characters. They were created to represent an idea or symbolize the object it represented. For example, the oracle bone writing for the word mountain was written this way. You can easily associate the word with the object it represents. The modern writing for mountain is this. It shows that although the written language has evolved, it nevertheless has kept its basic structure. In the same way, the oracle bone writing for the word sun was written this way. In comparison, the modern writing for the sun is this. Some characters, such as big, was written this way. It shows a man with his arms outstretched, thus expressing the idea of big. But the oracle bone writing soon developed a huge vocabulary that it had no picture equivalence. Therefore, more complicated ideas had to be expressed by other means. For example, the word east symbolizes the sun coming up behind trees. This character of east is a combination of two symbols. This symbol for the sun and this symbol for the tree. Two characters may also be combined to represent a new and related idea. For example, the character for man combines two characters, one representing strength and the other representing a rice field. The character for forest combines the same two characters for tree. Unlike most other languages which have abandoned the pictographic symbols and used alphabets, the Chinese written language has remained pictographic until nowadays. Due to the fact that there is no alphabet in Chinese, how to properly pronounce a character is very difficult. In European languages, the spelling of a word more or less gives a hint about its pronunciation, but not so with Chinese. As a result, dialects easily developed. Due to the extremely large size of Chinese territory, any character might be pronounced differently in different regions. Traditionally, the regional dialects were so different, people in one region could hardly understand people from another region. Of course, in spite of different pronunciations, all the characters were written the same way, no matter where they were written. By the way, Chinese written language was standardized around the 3rd century BCE during the Qing dynasty. Nowadays, the correct pronunciation of spoken Chinese is based on the Beijing dialect. During the last 100 years, efforts have also been made to make it easier to learn the written language. In the 1950s, the Chinese government issued orders to simplify many frequently used written words, which used to be too complex with too many strokes. Now, with fewer strokes, those simplified words are obviously easier to learn and quicker to write. Nowadays, the simplified Chinese is being used in mainland China and Singapore, whereas the traditional writing system is still used in Hong Kong and Taiwan. Please keep in mind that these two systems are not drastically different. People of one system can still understand the other one without too many difficulties. It is true that Chinese is very difficult to learn. You need to learn tens of thousands of different characters in order to be able to read and write well. For this reason, some people claim that such difficulty is a big obstacle for children. However, many other people, myself included, argue that it actually facilitates the learning process of children and beneficial to children in the long run. When young children realize that they have to study hard to learn something, hard work not only builds their resilience, it also helps develop their intellectual capacity later in life. Well, that is all that I wanted to talk about today. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.